Thank
All
you.
right. Well, guys, thanks for being here. I always think it's a testament to you guys that come out, and when I go to clinics, to people that want to spend their money and spend their free time to come and learn things on their own and to make themselves better, to help make their athletes better, to help make their programs better. It just says a lot about people that are willing to do that on their own, and we hope that we have something here that was beneficial to you that you can take home. The whole point of this thing is not about what we're presenting or showing you necessarily what the Eagles are doing. It's about what you can take home. And not everything that everyone's talked about, especially from this organization, is applicable. You may not have the same weight room or same resources to be able to do all the things that Sean or Josh or Mike or Ben and I are going to talk about, but we want you to be able to take something home and steal an idea and use it and make it your own, because that's what we do. We go to conferences, we try to take as much as we can from the people that are talking and see what we can incorporate. Some of it sticks and some of it doesn't, but we want to steal everything that we can, and we're an open book. So take whatever you want from us, okay? We're here for you. We're here to advance the profession. We're here to advance the knowledge, and none of us have really created anything. We've all taken it or stolen it or evolved it from one point to another to where it's useful for us. And other than Donnie Thompson, no one here has really created anything in the world of strength and conditioning, and he does it every week. So, we all have a lot to live up to when he comes up to talk. But Ben and I are going to be talking about recovery, particularly the recovery strategies that the Eagles use. And the interesting part of this talk, I think, is that Ben and I are at very different stages of our careers. I've been coaching for almost 25 years. Ben's been in it. It's going 6 or 7 for Ben. And so we see a lot of this stuff through different lenses. And when I was in college 20 years ago, honestly, my warm-up for a squat routine was that. And some days it still is, but that's how I came up, and things weren't as evolved as they are now. And Ben comes to it from a different point of view. So we sit in our office and we spend a lot of time talking about this. And what you're going to see, we have it on the screen here. I needed a PowerPoint because we have a lot of slides and I'll lose track of them. But we spend a lot of time talking about this, and what you're going to see is actually the recovery section of the off-season training manual that we give our team. And so we're going to go through it. Some of it we're going to breeze through because you've seen it before. Some of it we're going to get a little more hands-on, show you a little more about it. Some things that we do a lot of, we're actually not going to talk about because Donnie's going to talk about them next, and since he's the expert, we're going to let him have at it. Again, something else that we took from somebody else that we're using here. So that's what Ben and I are going to be talking about. If you can read this, do. If you can't, we'll email it to you. First off, we'd like to thank all the people for Hammer for putting this on. I've been speaking at these clinics for years, and I love it. I love it. It's such a good chance to just be around like-minded people and maybe people that aren't so like-minded, and be able to talk shop and just see what's out there and what you can learn and take from it. And so we really appreciate Lon and Tommy Profit. Is Tommy still here? Well, if you don't know Tommy, there's 5 or 6 cities in this country where he should have a statue up posted somewhere. And Blair Prince, I think there are a couple of him in Texas and Oklahoma. But everybody at Hammer for putting it on. And then the people at the Eagles, Howie and Doug, for letting us have this here. And this is kind of our first foray into hosting a clinic, and we hope we get to do more of them. So to start off, I don't know if you can read this, but something my dad has told me since I've been old enough to listen is that people work to the level expected of them. And so as coaches and practitioners, whether it's your kids, which I don't have any, but your athletes, even yourself, you'll work to the level that's expected of you. And if you expect great things out of your athletes, more times than not, you're going to get it. But if you only expect, a low bar, or set the bar low and have a low ceiling for them, that's what you're going to get too. So remember, as coaches, that it's up to us to set that bar high and expect great things out of them. There's a kind of a saying that goes around that you can be the thermostat or you can be the thermometer. And I think probably everyone's heard that. And another quote, I don't know who said it. John McKenna's used it for years, and I heard it from him, but I first heard it from Ron Corson, who was our trainer at Georgia. And he said, people need to know how much you care before they care how much you know. And that's particularly true of athletes, okay? They need to know that we have their best interests at heart. Okay, if they think we're only about ourselves, then they're not going to care about what we're asking them to do. So they need to know that we care about them. And when they know that and they feel that, they'll run through a wall for you. And it doesn't matter what sport, it doesn't matter what gender, they will. Okay, so people need to know how much you care before they care how much you know. And it doesn't matter if you're the smartest or the dumbest guy in the room. If an athlete knows you care, they're going to respond to you. And I know that piggybacks on a lot of things that other people have said, but it's true. And I'm not real sure who said it. So, recovery. Coach Hinks talked yesterday about our job as coaches is that we need to make a more robust athlete. And he's right. That is our task. But it doesn't always happen. Lots of times during the course of the season just wears on you. And so recovery is important. It's just as important as the training, particularly deep in the season. So a lot of the things that we set up for our athletes are to get them to be able to return to practice, return to play as soon as possible so they can perform at a high level every time they step on the field or come in the weight room. So that's what a lot of this stuff is geared to. And again, a lot of writing on this page, but basically our profession sometimes takes something and runs with it for a while, and to the point that maybe now you have people that are recovery experts, and they love recovery, but they don't train. So they don't have anything to recover from. And if you don't have anything to recover from, you're kind of just being lazy and laying on the couch. And so, you know, a deload day, 14 of them in a row is not really a deload. It's just, you're just being lazy. So whenever it's time to think about recovery, you need to consider the fact that you should have something to recover from. Otherwise, you're just kind of wasting your time. So a lot of the stuff that we do is we try to build it in to our workouts. And there's a time and place. There's physical recovery. There's mental recovery. There's stuff for your nervous system. And there's a lot of different things that we can address. But the biggest, I think, and there's a lot of ways to measure it, right? You can use heart rate monitors, HRV, GPS loads of different things. You can use a tap test app on your phone. There's a lot of things you can do to measure it. Force plates, squat jumps. But the real test is how we see them as coaches. We know them personally, and we know if they're up to par, if they're lifting the way they have been, if they're running the way they should be. If we have conversations with them, you can talk to them about whether they're tired, how they're sleeping, how they're eating. And these are the things that are going to help you determine an athlete's readiness and what he or she needs to do to recover. The thing that you got to remember is a lot of the stuff we're trying to recover from, we also need. Training is supposed to be hard. Okay, we need soreness to some extent as an adaptation. We need to stress your body to a point that your body will respond and then become stronger and more robust. So we can't, in the process of trying to recover, we can't stunt some of these natural adaptations. These things have to occur. And that's some things that sometimes our athletes don't understand. Hey, we had a hard leg day and some intense stuff on the field. I'm really sore. Yeah, no kidding. Like, we knew that. Like, that was planned. And you should be sore. If you're not, you might not have done too much. And so that's one of the things to consider. We need these things to happen. And so right now, during the off season, we're recommending to the athletes that they don't do as much recovery as they might have been doing at the end of a very long season. And you need these adaptations. You need a stress response. all these things so you can grow, as an athlete. And then once the season gets to wearing on you, then you can incorporate more of these protocols and things like that to help you to come back the next day. Now, a guy may train during the week, he's got the weekend off, so maybe he doesn't have to go get a massage or get in a cold tub every day. So these are things that you have to consider as you're going through it. So one of the things to think about in terms of recovery is a balance, energy in and energy out. What are the ways that you expel energy, and then what are the ways that you can bring energy back in? And there's a long list of them, and we've got a lot of slides, and I've got glasses on, and I still can't read them all. We'll go through them all in a second. One of the biggest things, though, and two of the easiest ones to think about, Mike did a presentation on it earlier, nutrition and sleep. Those are two very easy things to incorporate, talk about, emphasize with your athletes, and they really don't cost you anything, okay? It's just being mindful of some of the things that you do. One of the things that we do with sleep is just make it a priority. Make a nightly routine a priority. Going to bed at the same time, getting up at the same time every day, regardless of whether you have something to do or not. Having a cold room, having a dark room, and just having a routine at night where you're not watching TV right before you go to bed because the lights of the TV will mess you up and not help you go to sleep. So you get a screen for your phone that blocks the blue lights, or some glasses or things like that, and hopefully that'll help you out. Making the room as cold as possible. When we travel, it's on our hotel stuff that all the rooms are set at like 65 or 66 degrees. So that's one of the things that we'll do. It's not real hard to address the players in their sleep. Hydrotherapy. Cold tubs, hot tubs, not everyone has access to these things. And again, you may not be able to do some of the things that we do because you don't have our resources. But we have cold tubs and hot tubs, but they're used for different things, can stimulate different parts of the nervous system. The cold and the hydrostatic pressure of the water can help your muscles recover. But if this isn't possible for you, a contrast shower, going very cold, very hot, for as long as you can stand the cold anyway, that's a heck of a thing, particularly to help wake you up, to kind of shock your nervous system. It's a great thing. And again, I think Lon has this for everyone, and you can read all the different points. I'm not going to go through it because it'll take us forever. Hot and cold tubs, contrast bath. Again, going back and forth from the cold to the hot. If you don't have tubs, use a shower. Epsom salt baths. This is something that I only recently started doing, maybe 08 or 09. But my whole life, my grandmother talked about taking Epsom salt baths. And I thought it was something that old people did. Had no idea what it was about. And then started doing them, started reading up on it, found out, it worked. Helped get magnesium back in your system. You absorb it through your skin. So why not? We make it available to our players. We had a special tub built. We order Epsom salts. We have them, on our trips for games. We have them at the team hotels. And it's something that our players, they use quite a bit. Some of them too much. Some of them will take a big bag of Epsom salts home, and you wonder how much they're going to bathe between now and tomorrow morning. Some people, anybody here ever gone to a float tank? It's pretty cool, right? That tub has like 1,000 pounds of Epsom salt in it. It's not a bad experience if you ever get to do it. Cryotherapy. Again, this is something that we don't currently have. We have it during the season, but the jury's still out, right? Some research you're going to read, it's great. Some research says it's a waste. But ultimately, it comes down to how the players feel about it. Our players get in it, they feel better for whatever reason. And maybe it's a placebo. Well, that works too. But they get in it, they feel better. We had one here, found out we were going to the Super Bowl, called the company. They shipped another one to our hotel at the Super Bowl. And we had it there all week for them. Did it matter? I don't know. Players thought it did, so it's great. So we're going to have another one next year too. We might get 2 of them. Acupuncture. Look, acupuncture goes back thousands of years. People a lot smarter than me can tell you how it works. They stick needles along meridian lines. I think Ben and I did it for the first time, was it 2 seasons ago?
Yep.
We have an acupuncturist that comes through, and we had never done it. So we went back, did it. I mean, it takes a lot for my hamstrings not to feel tight all the time, and that helped. I don't know if it was a placebo, but it helped me, so I'll continue to go until somebody proves me wrong. But it's something that you can do. Sauna and steam room. This kind of goes back to the contrast bath. You can use them the same way. Sauna and steam room in and of themselves can really help with your nervous system. They kind of make you a little more parasympathetic. But if you need to, you can actually use that, get in a sauna or steam room, dry off, go get in a cold shower for 2 minutes or a minute, dry off, go get back in the sauna or steam room. You know, do a couple rounds of that. That's another recovery method that our guys like. Some of our players, and again, it's individualized. Some guys won't touch the cold tub, but they'll do this. Okay, they'll get in there and then they'll go take a cold shower for 30 seconds and draw off because they can't stand getting in cold water. So this is something that they'll do. And for everybody, it's different. Another thing that we'll do for guys, particularly guys that get a lot of reps during games, low-level cardio. That's something that really shouldn't be overlooked. Get the guys in, get them moving. I'm not trying to get their heart rate up a whole lot, but anything with an aerobic base is going to help them to recover. And then with the manual therapy, there's a lot of different manual therapies that we use. Okay, we've got compression boots, we've got Normatec boots that we use, game readies and things like that to pump cold water through them. Our players use those extensively. A lot of them buy them for their homes. Massage. Personally, our team are big believers in massage. We spend a lot of time and resources on this. It's something our players really take seriously. And again, do some of them use it too much? Probably. Do some of them use it when they shouldn't? Definitely. We'll start our off season in about 3 weeks on a Monday, and I can guarantee you at least 3 people will say, when are the massage ladies coming in? You're like, you haven't done anything yet. Why do you need a massage? You've been off for 3 months or whatever. Or we'll have a bye week during the season. They'll come back. Hey, can I get a massage today? Why? You just had a week off. Anyway, but a lot of them, a lot of the linemen, guys that really take a beating in the game, they need the manual therapy. And if nothing more, the therapists are maybe stretching them in ways that they wouldn't normally stretch themselves. This is something that's really great for them. And again, we've put a lot. If you're walking back out to the auditorium, down that hallway, you may see on the right-hand side, we've got recovery room. We've got massage tables set up in there, acupuncture tables, and it's just a whole room dedicated to the guys. We've got massage chairs and things for them to use to help with their recovery. Yoga. And I'm going through this kind of quick because we want to get to the hands-on stuff as quickly as possible. Yoga is something we started to incorporate the last couple years. And how many people in here have ever done yoga? Okay, I'm one of them. How many people hate it? Yeah, I do too. But I go every week. And I'm better at it when I leave than when I go. So again, I'm going to keep going. And I, by no inclination, think of myself as a yogi, but I know how much it helps. And I know how much a bunch of our players love it. And so it's something that we're going to continue to use. Just like anything else. We go early in the morning, Ben and I and a handful of us, and I dread it. Get up in the morning, man, I got to go to yoga. And I leave and oh my gosh, I'm so glad I went to yoga today. Even though I was bad at it. There's like one thing I can do I'm really good at, and it's basically where you're just squatting down in a squat stance really low. And she's like, oh, you're good at that. I've been doing it my whole life. And then she's like, well, reach your hand up in there. I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm good down here. But there's a lot of benefits of yoga, not just physical. The mental aspect of just being able to clear your mind and relax and focus on your breathing. If nothing else, you forget about yourself for a little while can get out of your own headspace for a little bit. And yoga, we know, has been a big help for a lot of our players. I mean, to the point to kind of emphasize what we emphasize, we took all of our massage therapists and our yoga instructor to the Super Bowl with us. And they were there with us the whole week because we wanted our guys to have a normal routine just like they would if they were here. Different poses. Everybody know what yoga is? All right, flexibility. Flexibility, mobility. We're going to get into a lot of this. Ben's going to come up right now and start talking about a lot of the different modalities we use. Now, some of them you may have or have access to. Some of them you may not. We'll get to foam rollers and things like that. But again, we want to be able to show you things that you can take with you. So, for instance, foam rollers. These things, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 bucks, right? Depending on how big they are. This is $8 at Home Depot. It's a piece of PVC pipe, all right? $8. And it's harder than a foam roller. So something that's less expensive, you can use at home, and it's a great device, especially for bigger athletes and players. They love it. They'd rather use the PVC than the foam roller. So there's things like that you can use. We have myofascial balls. You can use a lacrosse ball. You can use a softball, anything like that. But a lot of this flexibility and mobility stuff we're going to go through. Ben's going to start off with banded distraction and show you different things. And I think you're going to get a couple volunteers.
Anyone want to help us out?
Puts through some bed. Come on up.
Come on up if you want to. I need 2 people.
Two people. We got them.
How many people are familiar with banded distraction? You guys use it a lot. So like we said, nothing new. Just going to come over here. So we're going to have our 2 bands here. Go ahead and put your right leg in. And then we're going to face out to the crowd here. Up around the hip. Bring that band nice and high up around the hip. Walk our right leg out a little bit. And we're going to reach down, touch our toe, slight bend in that knee, and just kind of hang out here a little bit. Let that band do a little bit of pulling on you. Stay down there. Need more? Come on out if you need more. So essentially what we're doing here is we're trying to create space in that joint capsule. One thing yesterday with Coach Feely speaking, he said that he got a question. I think he answered it very well. What do you do with the guy that can't kind of get down into that position? Like I said, I think he answered it well. Another thing we like to do is a lot of distraction because a lot of people have the tight hips, can't get into that position. We think this is very beneficial for that reason. So what we do here, we just kind of hang out. If you were familiar with Dr. Kelly Starrett's stuff, he kind of says to make a change, you need about 2 minutes, right? Most of our athletes can't really hang in that position, so we go about 45 to a minute per area here. So what we like to do, we like to have them hang out here for about a minute. Just kind of walk your hands to the right, to the left, to the middle, kind of work that whole joint capsule a little bit, try to create some space. All right, go ahead, pop back up. So now we're going to face 45-degree angle here towards our dumbbell area. We're going to lunge it out. We're going to come down to a knee, right? And if you guys need to keep yourself in place, there's a blue pad right there that you can put under your knee. So essentially here what we're doing, we're just going to kind of lunge into it, keeping our chest up a little bit, take our hand down to our right leg, and then we're just going to push our knee out as far as we can as we push our hips into that ground. So we're just going to hang out here once again, rock that knee in and out, kind of take it through a range of motion, and you can feel if you need a little bit more tension on that band, just come out a little bit further. And as you sink into it a little bit more, you're probably going to need a little bit more of that. So once again, if you need even more, we can kind of take our elbow down as far as we can and just sit in there. Pulling that knee in and out. Guys feeling the stretch a little bit? Nice. All right, go ahead, relax. Come on back. Grab that blue pad. We're going to need it on this one. So we're going to switch what knee is down. We're going to go right knee down, and we're going to face parallel to our band. Yep, so keep it up there. So now we're going to come right knees down. We're going to cross our left over our right and just sit up tall on that knee. So this is going to be posterior hip capsule here. So we're really going to focus, and you're going to feel like that is going to pop out of the back, right? So come on out as far as you can, and then we're going to sit down to our elbows. There you go. Feeling nothing. Well, you might be very flexible. So see how you're sitting back here? So come up onto that knee. So your knee is basically straight up and down. You as well. So come forward on it. There you go. Sit forward. Then nice and
Be sure
tall.
to keep that
There
band
you
high
go.
up in the crease of your hip.
Yep.
And again,
So you
as
feel your
Ben's
glute, right?
talking
So I
and
want
demonstrating a
this
little bit
to be-
of this, Dr.
Come back
Sterrett's
up.
book is called How to Be a
So see
Supple
how you're
Leopard.
sitting back here.
And again, this is
Sit up
stuff
nice
he's
and
taken
tall.
out of his book.
There.
It's a
Now
big,
sit down
thick
to your elbow.
textbook-sized book.
There you go. So here we're going posterior hip capsule. All right, last one we're going to show you. Go ahead and pop up. Now we're going to face in to our windows. So now right knee is going to be down again. So what we're going to do here is pull that band right up around that glute, that lower glute. We're going to step that leg back. Come on back as far as you can. I want a lot of pull on this one. So now I want you to keep that torso up nice and straight as you can. And if you can, even scoot back a little bit more. You got enough pull? You good? All right, so here we're really focusing on that quad hip flexor region. We have a lot of tightness in that area in our athletes, and this is one of the most beneficial things that we found for them to do, stretching recovery-wise, after a lift, after practice, kind of whenever. So what we tell them to do is really just focus and squeeze that glute as hard as they can, and you'll feel that stretch all across the front. The main thing here too is we don't want them to lean into it, lean back, get extended. So just stay up nice and tall because that's how you're going to run, right? And if they need a little bit more, we have them reach back, grab that ankle, and pull it up. Pull it up towards them. There you go. If you can do it. Most of our guys can't do that. We have a few that can. But all right, go ahead, pop one up. You guys are done. Get a round of applause for our volunteers. There we go.
So on our slides, we have several different examples of how to use this. Ben went through several of them. We've got some for the shoulder, things like that. We're not going to demonstrate those. There's several more for the ankle, but Donnie's going to cover some of that in his ankle domination series. One of the next things we're going to talk about, and this is something that Donnie's also going to, we have some overlap here, but band flossing. This is also in Dr. Sterrett's book. This is something that we use quite a bit. And we use it not just on the ankles, it's knees, elbows, hips. Some guys do it on the shoulders, but we use a lot of band flossing. The guys like the compression, you know, they wear it for a few minutes, take it off, they feel great, but this is another tool that we have when we're all done. If, you know, I'm sure Donnie will be flossing some people and we're happy to help him. Soft tissue work. This is something that we spend a lot of time on pre and post workout for our guys, and we do it a lot of different ways. Again, we have foam rollers, we have sticks that we roll people out with. Again, the balls, lacrosse balls, these things, our players love them. They love to take them home with them and not bring them back. They really love that. But we do a lot of soft tissue work. During training camp, we make it kind of a staple of what we do, even on lift days. We do it prior to the lift. Guys come in and do it on their own before and after practice. And then manual therapy, again, foam rollers. We do a lot of different things with them. And then body tempering's on here. Something that we picked up from Donnie Thompson a couple years ago, and we really think it's made a huge impact on our team. During camp, we would have 30 or 40 guys every day waiting to get tempered. It's just a great device. He's going to go into more detail about it. But if not something that you've ever done, you should try it. We lay people out on a mat here. Anybody not familiar with body tempering? All right, basically you lay down and we put a big metal pipe on you and roll you out. Is that about it? Yes, about it. So you'll feel like you're dying at first, but when you're finished, you'll think it's the greatest thing ever, and you'll want to buy one. And so that's something our players love. We have it on game day. We take one with us on the road. Ben has become the resident expert on body tempering, and God bless him for it, because tempering is just as hard, if not harder, on the person doing it than the person that's laying there getting their back or hamstrings rolled out. One of the other things, I think you're going to go into the Theragun?
Buffering.
Go ahead.
Just a little bit about some of our other things that we do. Have you guys all been familiarized with the DMSs, stuff like that? They're pretty expensive. Not everyone has access to those. Another cool device that we have is a Theragun. It's basically half the price of that. Essentially, it's the same thing. It looks kind of like a drill. It's got a battery that just pops in, out, and I mean, it's essentially just the same thing as a DMS gun.
Do not use a drill. Do not use a drill.
Another cheap alternative that we have is just a car buffer.
Right.
So I mean, this is $15 at your local auto shop.
Sit down and do it.
Essentially, all you do, turn it on. Now it's got a lot more surface tension than a DMS does or something like that. So one way that we use it a lot too is just flip it up on its side. Kind of gives you the same exact thing. Turn it on.
Whoop.
We don't necessarily need that. I mean, you just roll it over anywhere you got a sore area. Like we said, we can really dig it in here too if you want. But essentially it works the same way as like the DMS, the Theraguns, thank you, and those sorts of things. So
the car buffer is neat because, again, it's not very expensive. Again, you can get them at Advanced Auto Parts for 15 or 20 bucks. Do not get a sander, okay? You laugh, I'm serious. It's an orbital polisher, okay? Again, it's for a car, it's not an industrial tool. But you're gonna look at that and say, man, I don't know about that one. Give that one a chance, because that's something good. Particularly like with quarterbacks and stuff that have a hard time, getting on their lat, getting up on the rhomboid and the rotator cuff on the back. They'll come in our office and they'll work on each other with this thing, and they love it. They really do.
Yeah, just another cheap alternative. You can get these on the that Rogue website, but you can just go to a Dick's Sporting Goods, whatever you got. A softball, absolute same thing, much cheaper than this. So just other alternatives, baseballs, golf balls for the feet. Just get creative with it, right? It doesn't always have to be nice and pretty. You just got to work, make the guy feel better.
So again, these are the things that we've been using with our team for years. Like everyone's talked about, you kind of create a culture of things, and our guys, they have a kind of a big glossary of things to choose from when they want to have some different recovery, and it's not the same for everybody. Some people hate rolling their feet. Some people hate foam rolling, but they'll come do the polisher. We've got a couple linemen that test using a foam roller, but they'll come get tempered for whatever reason. They just, with the bigger guys, sometimes it takes so much energy for them to use a foam roller and roll themselves out that they don't actually get the benefits of the compression that they're after. So we can lay them down, temper them, and they're getting those benefits, and they don't feel exhausted when they're done, or don't feel like they had to, go run a half marathon just to roll out their hamstrings. So a lot of these things, and all of them are individualized. Again, some guys like some stuff, some don't like others. We used to have hundreds of these sticks, and guys, would take them, use them for a while, bring them back. They didn't like them. But now on Wednesdays after practice, we have the banded distraction set up. Ben sets it up on all the racks, and they're all full of guys coming in to do the distraction after practice. So we put a lot of effort into the recovery stuff that we provide for our players, but we also feel like on the flip side of that coin, like Coach Hinks was talking about, we feel like we train hard enough to warrant that. And that's the thing with recovery. You should kind of earn it. You should go to bed at night feeling like you earned your sleep for that day. And that's how it is with a lot of these things. You should feel like you earned it and need it. And you're not just doing it for the heck of it. Is some of it preventative? Yes. But for a lot of it that's, a response to training, you kind of need to earn it. So I think that's pretty much, again, we have to cut it short because of the overlap with Donnie. But if you have any questions, we're happy to answer those now. And anybody got anything? What you got? Okay, so the question is, do we have any experience with programs that work with the diaphragm and breathing resets? Is that about sum it up? Yes and no. A lot of the stuff that Coach Hinks was talking about with postural restoration, a lot of that is based off of your breathing and being able to reset your breathing. You know, of course, lifting is a lot about breathing and being able to cue your breathing and brace yourself from that standpoint. And then again, with the yoga, those are the things that we try to focus on. We don't have any, specific program that we use other than to make it a reminder for guys that it's something they need to consider while they're going through these things. Whether it's when we're doing the scap push-up walk that Coach was demonstrating or had on his video, or they're squatting, or anything of the lifts, when they're going through the yoga, to remind themselves to breathe, to cue their breathing, and things like that. But outside of the stuff with the postural restoration, we really don't, do much in that regard. Coach?
Do you guys leave it up to personal preference about some type of full body warming before you do myofascial? I know me myself, I like to get a little bit sweaty. I seem to get better foam rolling or
You take it?
Yeah, so the question was, do you like to get warmed up before you do any myofascial type of thing? We start every strength training session with a foam roll. One thing, we just really think that kind of gets your blood pumping to those muscles a little bit more, works out those trigger points, soreness, stiffness. So yes and no. We do it after practice, we do it before a lift, so kind of both, to answer your question there. With the stretching and the mobility stuff, we like to do a dynamic warm-up before we do anything like that. Like I said, we do a lot of the distraction after practice throughout the season. Wednesdays basically is kind of our day that we take them through all that. But you'll see guys in here Monday through Friday just doing that on their own as well. So to answer your question, yes and no. We kind of use it for both.
And I think a lot of it is like stretching, right? Personally, again, I don't stretch before I lift because I feel like I get a little more out of it if I take 5 minutes and stretch afterwards. And I feel the same way about foam rolling. Because of the way our team is set up and the way our lifts are set up, like Ben said, we do it ahead of time because it's a way for us to get everything started, get the lift started, get announcements made, and get them going, because we may not have a dynamic warm-up before we start our lift. And again, with the distraction stuff, not only with what Ben said throughout the week, we take this stuff with us on the road. We have it at the stadium. We take a trunk full of it on the away games, and we anchor the stuff in the locker rooms, and guys do it before the game. Anybody else? Questions? Yes. Whatever kind Biz tells us to do. I'm sorry, the question was, what kind of yoga do you guys do? I don't know. It's hard. No.
More restorative. Restorative yoga.
It's more sports yoga. Our therapists, they work over the Navy Yard, and they work with one of the premier surgeons in the country, and so it's more sports-based, and they have a lot of experience working with athletes. And the good thing about our instructors is that they're able to tailor it to each guy. One of the guys that goes and sees her regularly, his feet are really jacked up. So she spends a lot of time working on his feet. Another one, just tight hips. Another one really goes over there because he might need someone to vent to while he's stretching. And it's good for him, and he needs it. And you can tell the weeks he does it, and you can tell the weeks that he doesn't. And I can see him on a Saturday, and he'll walk through here, and I'll say, hey, bud. And by his response, I can pretty much tell you if he went to yoga the day before or not. And so I can't answer that question. I can put you in touch with the therapist that can, but a lot of her stuff is very geared toward the individual and just finding out what they need and then how she addresses that, inside of her area of expertise.
But if she does come here to our facility, it's more on a general scope of just more restorative type yoga, holding the poses a little bit longer, stuff like that. It's not your fast-paced, hot yoga, stuff like that. If guys want that, then they go to her facility and do that. But here it's more just stretching, stuff like that. So.
Yes, sir.
When you have the yoga or stretch coming into your facility, do you do it on a strategic day, or is it weekly, bi-weekly?
Yeah, so the question was, when the yoga is done here, how do we kind of set it up on a scheduled basis? When we do that, it's usually in training camp, and it's their off days, their recovery days. How it's kind of set up in our lift is we'll lift every other day in camp, offense, defense, and then they'll get a recovery day. So everything on the field is pretty intense at that time, so that's how we do that, just schedule that day in here.
It's a normal lifting time for us after practice. We just don't lift. Like he said, that's a recovery day, and we'll have stations set up. We'll have the banded distraction on one side, the yoga will be going on here in the yard, we'll have tempering going on, and guys have to do a couple things while they're in here. And we kind of take advantage of as much of it as we can during this most difficult time of the year. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
You also do a dynamic warm-up before lift, or you just fold roll and get right into the
All right, the question is, do we do a dynamic warm-up before the lift? Some days yes, some days no. In the off season, generally. But during the season, because of when we start and our time constraints, on the first lift day of the week is generally a Tuesday. We'll do it then because they're coming off. The last thing they will have done is the game, and we want to get them moving and getting them sweating a little bit before. On Thursday or the second lift day of the week, it's generally done by most of the guys after practice, so they don't need it. So, but ideally, yes, we would, and in the off season, we do. Anyone else? All right, Lon, we are done, sir. That's it. Yeah.
All right.